Hey everyone, hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to the live stream. So we're just back here for GW24. A little bit of a later deadline, but yeah, nice to just be around and hope you guys are doing well. So, Dream Brother 22. Hey Fran, I'm on wildcard this week. Had a pin since the start of the season. Interesting. Enjoy Virgil Van Maguire. Will you have Virgil on your wildcard? Will you have Maguire on your wildcard? Elami 27. Wish you a nice game week. You're gonna bring in NJ. That makes sense, to be honest. I think, especially with the potential double. Rogers and Anderson were the other options. I think that's fair. I don't think NJ is much worse than Rogers if you didn't have the double. So yeah, I can understand that move completely. I do still think Sobo should start ahead of Krupi when he plays right back. Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, most of Sobo's like routes towards returns don't really come from like his average position on the pitch, I guess. You know, if you kind of think about the haul that he got last week, it was just, just simply playing football as opposed to sort of being somewhere on the pitch. Wilson return or Dallo clean sheet. I'd probably back Dallo this week, but, obviously I'm a bit biased as I now own Maguire. Is my captaincy locked? Yeah, it is. Hey, Dr. Izan Abdullah. Nice to see you, my friend. Hey, Thomas. Anish, thank you so much for the super chat. Goalkeeper Rose, defender Chalaba, Gabriel Timber Mukiele, Bruno F, Rice, and Bumo, Semenyo, Enzo, Holland, Kelleher, Thiago, Krupi, Frimpong. Oh, that's a deep bench. Bit of a shame with Frimpong, I guess, but it's not like it was a great game for Frimpong this week. Yeah, I think you're good to go, man. It's a great team. Bench Bruno G or Jakeem Anderson? Probably Jakeem Anderson. I just kind of think if you own Bruno G, he's more, I think, the type of player who's probably in the camp of like starts or doesn't play at all. So I feel like if you have kind of like bench options, like for example, Tom has Thiago here, just keep Bruno G at the end of the day. You'll send your wildcard team into the private chat. You've got despicable team value, just rejigging with 26.2 mil for second striker, 2 mid slots. Nice. Start Krupier, Van Heck. I'd probably actually play Van Heck, just about. It's close though. Start Collins /Stack /Teo /Garner. I would actually probably play Stack or Garner because I kind of think you could probably lose points with some of the defenders. Whereas obviously if you get a midfielder who gets DEFCON, that's 4 points and you're kind of winning from that point on, right? We can definitely have a look at Discord now. Just gonna pop on over to it. Dream Brother. So many possible combos here. I mean, I kind of feel like you have to go Enzo. I guess what would you do in a situation where like you truly had like, let's say, I don't know, Chelsea and Everton doubling? I mean, Enzo and Jai is kind of around. Mane is a bit of a weird one too because like I think he kind of impacts your blank game week planning, but maybe that's too far away for you to care. In the JP slot, I don't know. Could you not punt like? Yeah, I mean, like the problem is if JP gets benched, you'll just feel silly. But then 3 weeks of JP maybe worth the bench, maybe worth the play. Sorry. In terms of Robert T's, yeah, I do quite like Robert T G6's wild card. Yeah, look, I've just seen your latest wild card and you've just like moved JP off of it. I get it; it's stressful. Like that's just tricky. I mean, has anyone actually bought JP this week? Like just in terms of like a regular free transfer? No JP for me. No one's really bought him. Mane or Krupi. On a wild card, I kind of think Krupi makes a bit more sense, but You know, obviously you've got the double and then the blank, right? So you kind of just need to think about. I think it is a free transfer, and the question I guess is it worth it? When will I? If Chelsea beat Arsenal in the EFL Cup, I'm kind of forced to use a chip. Jawan Glory kind of classic situation here where I can't actually see. Um, I can't see your comments, so I'll look out for it. Okay, I can see it now. You got Raya, Gabriel, Mukiele, Nunez, Enzo, Rice, Bruno, Elf, Thiago, Haaland, Ekitike, Dubravka, KDH, Anderson, Hall. User only free transfer. I think Foden to Enzo is perfectly fine because Foden to Enzo is the type of transfer that kind of still keeps you like in the best shape possible for that double game week 26, you know, for Chelsea, if it happens. If Chelsea beats Arsenal, will Chelsea have a double game week instead? Yeah, that's exactly what will happen. That is exactly what will happen. But not only do they need to beat Arsenal, I mean, they need to just advance, right? So, like, it's not about just winning that match. They just need to actually advance towards the final. Rohit, nice to see you, my friend. You got one free transfer. Defense is a problem. You got Gabby, Tio, Nor, VDB, Good Munson. Okay, so you could technically play Gabby, Nor for sure. Then the rest of them is a bit debatable. Should I do Tio to Nor to cash Alderete or just roll and play Tio and Nor? I mean, I guess, so do you always have to downgrade in defense? Like, for example, could you not go Chalaba as a potential option? If it is the case that you only, excuse me, sorry, that you can, if it's the case that you can only downgrade, um, I'd probably just go Alderete this week from one of your picks. I don't think Cho needs to go though. I guess you can't do good ones in because I guess you'd force Nor out. Yeah, maybe because Cho I think is at least almost permanent, so I think it's quite nice. Leave a like for sure. That would help. Thank you guys. Definitely drop a like. Mbumo Rogers. I kind of like Mbumo more, but I don't think there's much really separating the two. Bench Wilson or Thiago? Probably Wilson in this case. Thoughts on Saka being second on the XG list for the rest of the season? When we're saying the XG list, are we talking about like kind of Rob T's kind of rest of the season XGI? Is that what you're saying? I don't think he's second for XG. I think he's like second in terms of like combined XGI, right? So for example, like Thiago is expected to score more goals for the rest of the season, so that's more XG if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean Saka being up there is just a reflection of, well, he's got the assists from the set pieces, which is nice, and then in theory we ascribe a lot of open play value towards Saka, but of course we've not seen much of it as of late. Who's the best replacement for Enzo Lefebvre, 8.3 mil, and Bumo? Jason, who would you start out of Bowen or KDH? I'd probably start KDH personally because you kind of hope for DEFCON, that kind of stuff. Honestly, might just buy Palmer and Saka with Krupi. I don't really mind that. You think you saw me at London Bridge? Yeah, that's definitely me. Come say hi. I do work around there. Vice Holland is lock. Yeah, that's a lock for me. Salah and Dorgu out for Timber and suggestion to start fixing my team. Is that like Salah, like Liverpool Salah, or do you mean Zaka there? Whole third bench and Nunez starting is totally fine. I think Nunez is actually really good. Nunez is great, 100%. Hi, Fran, Cap, Palmer, Bruno. I'd probably go Bruno personally, but if you're really confident in Palmer minutes, then of course Palmer's an option for you. I'd go Krupi over Garner personally. Bench Pedro or Rice. I'd probably bench Rice. I don't think we'll get Chelsea leaks because I don't think we ever really get them. You already bought Rogers instead of Foden. Would you suggest taking a -4 to get Chalobah instead of Anderson? No, I don't think that's worth a -4. Start Krupi or Bowen. Krupi for me. Fran, please check my team in private. 5F20. I'm going to look at Doctor's question as well. So first of all, Dr. Keane could start. I don't think you necessarily need Bruno, though. It's a bit of a tough spot because you can't do... It has to be Semenyo. All right, 5 of 20. Thank you. So you've got 0 free transfers, 0.8 in the bank. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to suggest a hit for a team like this, right? Like, okay, fine, Wilson doesn't have the best of games, but he's still perfectly playable. And you've got Bruno already this week. Like, I think just relax. You've got a good team. Like, you're definitely rolling. Bench order looks fine. Yeah, I'd probably have Benevin over Hall. I think my only tip for you going forwards is obviously just like, I mean, that's a very good core. Like the Guehi, Timber, Gabriel three back with Hall when he has good games is probably maybe like too strong sometimes, right? So I guess if you're looking for transfers in the future, I'd just wait till game week 27 personally, or 26, of course, if you get the Chelsea double. Like that's going to change your like you're going to force the next two transfers to be Chelsea or Everton players, and I think that's fine. But what I'm saying here is just, you know, excuse me, sorry, you just roll until 27 if Arsenal get the double, right? Because you've already got a triple Arsenal that's solid. You're basically waiting to pick back up the Brentford players. So, for example, maybe later down the line, it's Hull to Collins or Guehi to Collins, depending on who you want to keep, and then you just go Ekitike to Thiago, and suddenly that frees up enough money for you to consider other options. Like, it's very possible that in a few weeks' time, like around 28, you might want to go Enzo out. So, yeah, but Tavernier will also be around too. So, I think Wilson, if you're going to hold him for this run, is ultimately just going to be a keep for yourself. And I think just start rolling. That's a good team. Kim's team, I like that too as well. Yeah, Collins first bench over Anderson, I think makes sense. I wouldn't complain about that. Bench order and captaincy, totally fine with that as well. Fran the man, if you could only go with one over Mbumo or Enzo, who would it be? Would you get both losing Sobo and Wilson for a hit exact cash? No, I would not do it for a hit. I would probably go Enzo just because there's a small sliver of a chance of a double game week. And regardless, Enzo is very good for the next 4 fixtures if there's no double. Moez Raza, still recommend triple Arsenal defense, United attack on wildcard. Okay, so what did my wildcard have? It had Chalobah, it had Enzo, right? So you got double Chelsea there. So what you could do instead of triple United attack, I think, is to go maybe Njai over Amad Diallo if you're scared about Chelsea versus Everton. This way you actually have 3 Chelsea and Everton players, and you're in a better spot. I think I would still recommend triple Arsenal probably if you want to go for it, or if you want to consider it. Hit the sub in Maguire for O'Reilly. That's not worth it at all. I think I just play O'Reilly for sure. Kashif, I can definitely have a look at your message as well. Oh, you've DM'd me. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to play Alderete, Guehi, Gabriel for sure. You then play Cherky, Njai, Rice, Anderson, Bruno, 3-5-2. In fact, you can actually bench Cherky, play 3-4-3. Yeah, I'd play 3-4-3 easily, man. You play Gabriel, Alderete, Guehi. You put Bruno, Njai, Rice, Anderson on, and then you just play Haaland, Thiago, Ekitike. Cherky first bench, Tarkovsky second bench. You're chilling. Yeah, great team. Great team and an easy role. And I just cap Bruno, if you want to, of course. Will Keane start? I think reading the comments from Moyes, I think it's pretty likely that Keane starts. Thank you, Bugger Lugs. Really appreciate that comment. Just quiz shorts. Bench one, Enzo, Alderete, Timber, Child. How are you able to bench these players? You're benching Enzo versus West Ham, Alderete versus Burnley, Timber versus Leeds, or Chalobah versus West Ham. I need to know what the rest of the team is, my friend. But if I really had to bench one, man, maybe I would actually consider benching Timber there. Fran, you wouldn't start Cherky over Anderson? No, because I think this is a good Anderson home game. I love Cherky, and I think Cherky could play. If you want to play Cherky over Anderson, go for it. But this is a good Anderson game, Feels like a nice 5-pointer base. Fran, the FPL saver, appreciate that. 3ZCB. If you do enjoy the live stream, please please subscribe, does help. And of course, subscribing helps you. You can pop a message in chat and we'll respond as soon as possible. Aryan Singh, thank you. Hey, Fran, I'm on wildcard. What do you think of Petrovic, Dubravka, Maguire, Richards, Chalobah? So Richards on wildcard, I'm not super in love with, just because, of course, you could get the blank giving 31 and you don't really want to be wasting a transfer for him. Just a point that I would make there. I don't like Petrovic either because I think the Bournemouth defense is shaky, and I also think they brought in a new goalkeeper, so watch out for that. Excuse me. Bruno F good, and Mbumo good, and Enzo good, Timber good, Rogers good, Rice, Holland, Evan Hilson, totally fine with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that draft. But yeah, just have a few thoughts about not trying to front load too much as possible in terms of double gaming 26, and then have a think about the goalkeepers as well. Your bench is Krupi, Dewsbury, Hall, Anderson. I mean, I'd only really consider Krupi, but I think you can bench these players comfortably. Rice from the wild card is fine. I don't think he's exceptional. I think I'd rather go triple Arsenal. Sorry to bother you again. How about bringing Guehi for Keane and Krupi or Evan Nilsson for Gu this week? Also a free Chelsea spot in case they beat Arsenal. Yeah, but it's not worth it to do it this week, though, if that makes sense, right? Because you don't know if Chelsea's gonna double, right? So if Chelsea don't double, you wouldn't have wanted to make a move like taking you out of your team. So it's easier to just roll transfers in that situation, right? And first of all, I don't think Guehi's like an exceptional pick right now. Like, I could be wrong, and City could end up, I don't know, becoming like an insane defense over the next 5 weeks, but I just generally think Guehi's not really worth a transfer. He's not someone who's like a def Connor. I don't think the Arsenal defense is like comparable to the City defense at this moment in time. So I would just chill for a little bit with your transfers, right? Because you get so much more information after Arsenal play Chelsea in the EFL Cup. Wait for that information. Which 4.7 midfielder or cheaper defender is the best option going forward? Currently on Maguire, Anderson, Mukiele. So you're kind of like looking for another option to kind of top on to the rest of your team. Is that kind of what you're saying there? Is that kind of what you're saying? Intervention 58, thank you so much for joining as a member of the channel. Welcome to Manager, my friend. If you want to use the Discord, I think there's an automatic plugin to YouTube. So if you want to just join the private chat channel, I think if you just sync your Discord with YouTube, you're good to go from there. May I ask why Bruno captain over Haaland captain? Yeah, it's a little bit of like everything, right? Home game, DEFCON, good minutes. It's pretty much it, really. And then obviously Bruno being Bruno for the rest of that. Start Rogers or Munoz. Personally, I would start Rogers for sure. But someone asked a question about, what 4.7 defender I'd go for. It's kind of tough. Like, because you already got Maguire. Pascal Struijk is not too bad, to be honest, as another defender option that you can consider. Someone who also doesn't blank game week in 31. That's probably... I think he kind of diversifies your kind of rotating cast of 4.5s a little bit, right? So if you've got, Anderson, James Hill is also not too bad as well. I will mention him too. So I think those two options are quite interesting from that perspective. Faraz, how are you doing? 2 free transfers, nothing in the bank. You've got Foden, Cherky, Goodmunson, Sobo. Would you roll if you would sell? I'd probably consider selling Foden, less so Cherky. Foden out towards an Enzo seems like a very strong, stable move. Thanks, Fran. I'm chasing rank. Triple Arsenal defense, United attack seems so risky, but I like it. I need risk. I think you can go for that and still go enjoy, right? So for me, like you're apportioning the same amount of risk in a sense that from the effective ownership of Njai and Ahmad, like it's very, very low. So you can definitely go for both. You're chasing. Is no Haaland wildcard worth it? I personally think it's not. I think if you're super confident Salah plays perfect minutes and he can kind of bring his level up a little bit, then maybe it's worth it. I guess the bet is on Salah. Like, are you going Salah? If you're not going Salah anyways, I probably would just go Haaland. Like, in a usual season, I think a lot of us are going to try, like, if you had good team value, you're going to try and squeeze Salah and Haaland together. This season, clearly, we have, like, no wish to do so because nothing we've seen from Salah so far has said, we want to go Salah. But, if you want to punt on Salah, like, I can kind of see the vision for it. Because you're not really going to captain Haaland over the next few weeks, right? Like, even on game week 26, you're just going to captain a doubler. So the next time you're really going to captain Haaland is going to be game week 29. At which point, actually, by that time, you probably would have had 2 Salah captaincies. Maybe one. Actually, I do think you'd probably captain Haaland game week 27. But, Umar Chimo, could you help my team on Discord? Definitely could have a look at that. Yep. All right, I can see your team, Umar. Okay, so I think Foden needs sorting, right? So Foden to Enzo, I think, is a bit of a lock to move. If you play Foden to Enzo, you'd still need to play some sort of 3-4-3 this week. Excuse me. I think once you do Foden to Enzo, you can then do... You could probably do Rodon to Chalobah, and then I think you can chill. Reason being, because you can play Virgil, Timber, Chalobah this week, so that's 3 at the back. You can then play the 4-3, and I think just play... Do you play Calvert-Lewin or do you play another defender? Because I'm kind of thinking maybe we just play Tarkowski over Calvert-Lewin. Yeah, I think this is what I would do, right? I'd play I'd play a 4-4-2. I'd play Timber, Tarkowski, Virgil, and why am I blanking here? Chalobah. And then I would bring in Foden to Enzo, and that would mean you're kind of saving Tavernier. From the news from Irola, I think one thing I have to say is like the news is not amazing because he's basically saying that in terms of priority, I think Tavernier is the third player that he's expecting to come back, fit soon. So it might take, a while for Tavernier to come back into the game. But he is certainly an option where I think if you hold, it could give you some dividends. And regardless, if let's say the position of Tavernier is not safe, like he's injured, you can always just go NJ on a better fixture and bring him in, right? If let's say Chelsea beat Arsenal, you're already tripled up on Arsenal, so I think you're good to go. That's personally what I would do. Then you actually have no transfers to make up until game week 27 because you don't have Thiago, but you're going to go back into Thiago and potentially bring in some other Brentford players. At that point in time, you might even consider Tarkowski to Collins or Chalobah to Collins, right? Which I think works because you've got such a big free transfer bank. That's what I would do. All right. Thank you so much for the super chat, Jimmy Walsh. Is Cunha to Rogers from -4? I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth a -4. I think the Dorgu injury really helps Cunha. I personally would keep Cunha this week and just see what's up, right? Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Cunha doesn't start again, which would be a bit of a shocker for me. But I personally think that there's a pretty good chance that Cunha starts. So I wouldn't do it for a -4. Next week, Rogers has Bournemouth away, whereas Cunha has Tottenham at home. So if actually, let's say Cunha starts this week and he plays reasonably well, he's most likely going to start versus Tottenham at home. And I think actually he's going to have 2 better fixtures in the short term than Rogers. So I would possibly keep Cunha here and then reconsider like the Cunha situation on game week 26, right? Because of course, you would have more information on the double. And like I think 26, 27 are not amazing United fixtures. 26, to be fair, is, right? Because it's West Ham. But then Everton away in 27, like that's when you can start to reconsider going for Rodgers and to not take a hit for it. Would you do Xhaka to Ahmad, then bench Creepy or just roll? I would just roll. Creepy Jr. is like an easy play this week for anyone who's actually like stuck with transfers. And also like from a perspective of if you think about Amad Diallo, like I think it's very beneficial to actually get one week of information more with United, which is kind of why I've also delayed some of my United moves, or I've gone for a different United move, I suppose, if you want to put it like that. Robert TG 456. One last thing, Fran. Would you play Wilson over NJ this week? It's a good question. I personally think I would play NJ over Wilson, if I can say that. But it really depends on like how you rate United, I guess. Like I just kind of think Brighton's like an easier fixture, so that's where I'm at. Salam, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Fran, help please. Would you start Senesi or Mane? I would definitely start Senesi, bro. I'm not saying Bournemouth's defense is good, but you at the end of the day, you've got DEFCON, right? So, for example, even if Wolves were going to score a goal, the big pro of going for Senesi is that he can still outscore if both of them blank, right? Let's say he gets the DEFCON points and they only concede 1 goal to Wolves. Not to mention, of course, Wolves are just generally struggling to score goals in general. So, like, even if Wolves score goals in games, they're really only scoring 1 to 2 tops. So, yeah, I don't see how this is like a super bad outcome in any case for Senesi unless he does something super rash, like getting a red card. So, yeah, I would just go Senesi personally. Mane has been pretty interesting looking, but it's also, it is a Bournemouth. Like, it is a good game for Bournemouth, basically. Start Wilson or Krupi Jr. I think that's close to a 50-50. I'd probably start Krupi Jr. for the risk in terms of the effective ownership, but if you don't like that, if you want to kind of play with the higher ownership pick, go with Wilson. play VVD or KDH, I personally would play VVD this week because he's at home as well, and I think that helps. Start Munoz or Mukiele for sure. I actually don't think that's close. Hey, Fran, Croupier Mane. Is this on a wild card? Yeah. Probably Croupier on the wild card. I'd probably go Rogers and Anderson, to be honest. Would you bench boost Kelleher, Croupier, Tarkowski, and Estev? Okay, so that's Kelleher versus Aston Villa, Croupier versus Wolves, Tarkowski versus Brighton, Estev versus Sunderland. It's not too different from my wild card, right? Sorry, my bench boost. I don't think Richards versus Tarkowski is any different. And then I don't think Anderson versus Estev is massively different. I probably wouldn't, personally. Protagonist, would you just roll? Yeah, the -4 idea I think is terrible because like if João Pedro starts, like you're gonna, first of all, you're gonna lose a little bit of transfer value on Thiago, right? Which is gonna be a problem. And then second of all, yeah, if João Pedro gets benched, like you're gonna get pretty upset, and it's not even worth the -4 outright. So I don't think it's worth it. Suchok, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Foden/Turkey to Enzo/Mbu -4. You've got Bruno. I'd probably do Foden to Enzo and just chill on the -4. Kind of like in my situation, you could probably just go Mbu next week, unless it's super tight for you, right? Is it super tight for you, like 0.0? Is Bruno G playing? Honestly, I've got no clue. I mean, all we got from How was just fitness test, all the waffle after that. So I think he's in a situation where you just need an auto sub, basically. Intervention 58, thank you so much for the super chat. And once again, thank you so much for joining as a member of the channel. Which would you prioritize transfers out for? Gravenberg, Gu, or Ekitike? You've got one free transfer, so you're just tempted to just roll, maybe with Paul being at home. I would just roll as well, right? Because I think Gravenberg's going to play this game, so that's not really an issue. Gu is probably someone who, unless you like needed to play Gu for this week, for example, like, you know, therefore replacing him with Krupi is worthwhile. I don't think it's really worth it. I'm assuming that Gu is someone that you're just keeping on the team and he's at the back of your bench, right? So I'm not saying that he's worth the transfer. As far as Ekitike, I don't think he has much worse of a game compared to anyone else. Like this week, Bowen has a sort of mediocre game as well. And he's, you know, at least he's away from home. So I think I would go Ekitike. Thiago has a pretty poor away game as well. I would keep Ekitike. I would roll. I do like Liverpool being at home. I don't think Gravenberg's like a great pick, to be honest. So we can obviously expedite moving him out soon. But then 2 free transfers will make that easier for you because then you can push up the Gravenberg money into someone like maybe, let's say if Chelsea beat Arsenal in the FL Cup in advance, you probably want to push that Gravenberg spot into NJ. So having 2 free transfers is much better to alleviate that situation than 1 free transfer. So I would just roll for sure. Like I play Gravenberg this week as well. Kind of like the way that I'm playing Sobo. Valentin, thank you so much for the super chat. Bag TV this week or wait for Arsenal double game week news, 0.2 swing. I think if you think that you can manage the 0.2 swing and it's not going to change your best move next week versus like if you made it this week, then I would probably wait for the information. In my case, I didn't feel like I could do that. Like for example, if I excuse me, took the Nigo O'Reilly price drop, didn't go Maguire this week, I think I would have been priced out by game week 25. Especially if, let's say Mbuma has a really good performance on Sunday. When do Arsenal play Chelsea, right? Arsenal play Chelsea on the Tuesday. If Mbuma had a really good performance on Sunday and he gets one more price rise, but I wanted information over the double game week, the problem for me is that I actually can't even really handle that because, I mean, Mbuma would rise again and then I'd be just priced out of the move entirely. So I think, yeah, I would just wait if you have that buffer. Wishing you a big green this week as well, my friend, Suchok. Why hold on to Ekitike? I mean, there's no reason not to, right? My only transfer in the future that I want Ekitike out for, if I'm going to go Ekitike out, a couple things I want to mention later, but if I go Ekitike out, it's going to be for Thiago, right? And I'm not going to buy Thiago for the next 3 fixtures, so I would only really be going Ekitike out on Give Me 27. The only alternative picks that I kind of like right now is a free transfer. If I had like, let's say 5 free transfers, maybe I would consider something like, honestly, I really wouldn't even go Evan Nilsson. If I was on a wild card, I'd go Evan Nilsson, but I wouldn't use a free transfer in Evan Nilsson. João Pedro, I don't even know if he starts, so I don't think it's really worth it. So the way I see it is, anyone that I bring in for Ekitike this week, I'm most likely also going to bring in Thiago for them on Game Week 27. So what's the point of that? And what I can also see myself doing is, let's say, coming out of the double Game Week 26 for Arsenal, if you, let's say see my team right now. If Palmer still is shaky with the injury situation and whatever is going on there, and I don't like Saka for whatever reason, then I can see myself honestly going 3-4-3 and suddenly just going Thiago, Ekitike, Haaland if Ekitike's minutes actually, shape up a little bit, especially since fortunately Liverpool have kind of removed the additional need to play more fixtures for them within the Champions League. But yeah, it's very likely I'll sell Ekitike on Game Week 27. That's the most likely plan for me. Do you have a chance on Palmer Cap? Do you hate a chance on Palmer Cap? I don't hate it, no, because I can understand the upside of it. You already have Enzo, and you would only sell Foden and keep the rest. Yeah, I think that's worth it. Thoughts on starting Krupi? You mean my team or you mean your team? I think starting Krupi makes a lot of sense. That's why he's first on my bench as well. Thoughts on starters in terms of your team protagonist? I think I'd probably play Guehi over Tarkovsky, but that's about it. I think your starters are fine. I think captaincy is fine as well if you are kind of like anti Bruno this week. Play Keane or Anderson. I'd probably play Keane. I think it's a marginally better game than Anderson, and I think Keane will start personally. Timber or Munoz, I would definitely start Timber. By the way, guys, bear back. I actually just need to be just 2 minutes. See you in a bit. Alrighty, let's get back into business. Got some of that cough mixture. Yeah. Basically, I have a chest infection, and obviously, I'm still dealing with it. But yeah, should be all good in a couple of days, hopefully. It's just been a pretty all around bad time, so I've been sort of focusing on improving my fitness and stuff like that. So lost a bit of weight. We'll just continue with exercise and stuff like that, and see how it goes. Croupier or Turkey, bro? I'd play Croupier, my friend. I just feel like one person's like guaranteed to start, one person pseudo guaranteed to start. To be honest, like I think Cherokee and Semenya will start. Like I'd be kind of shocked if they didn't. But like Krupi's no kind of mug, if that makes sense. And the problem with Cherokee is he can always get subbed a little bit earlier. I guess the pro for Cherokee is like, let's say if Pep is kind of tired of the experiment where he kind of plays Foden out wide at times, then maybe like Cherokee can just survive the whole time. Because Semenyo's could occupy a wing spot, Cherokie's could occupy another wing spot. They don't really have depth right now. If you think Marmoush can't play on the wings, because I think that's kind of what Pep thinks as well. Marmoush more central. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the problem, right? Start Bruno Gia Richards. I'd probably go Richards myself. Semenya Mukiele or Bowen. How are you benching Semenya or Mukiele, my friend? I think you have to try to play 2 out of 3 of them. Sell Wilson for Bruno. I think that's just about worth it. But then I guess, are you bringing Wilson back in a couple of weeks' time, or are you just okay with parting ways with Wilson yourself? Worth taking a hit to get Enzo in for Sobo. That's not worth the hit. Hey, Fran, play 3 of the following: João Pedro, Evan Nilsson, Alderete, Chalobah, Senesi. How are you only able to play 3 of the following? I mean, if you really have to, I play Evan Nilsson, Alderete, Chalobah. Because I really don't know if João Pedro's going to get benched. I feel like he could. You know, a lot of the predicted lineups have João Pedro benched as well. Is your cough because of croupier or chronic? All right. Play Anderson or Bowen. I would personally just. Are we talking Elliot Anderson here? Because guys, the spelling is important. You know, the E or the O makes a very big difference every single week. Like this is a good Anderson game for the O. Not a great Anderson game for the E. So, you get me? Just sent my team on X. So many problem areas. Yeah, I could have a look at it. Where on X is it? Let's see. I can't see specifically which team you've got. Hopefully it's Neek 4775 or Niek 4775. Hill, Munoz, Maguire, Senesi, Richards, Anderson on wildcard. So Richards, I think the problem with him on the wildcard is that it's very likely that he's going to blank in week 31, right? So it doesn't really make sense to probably go Richards on the wildcard. Like I'm going to transfer Richards out in the future, so I'd probably not recommend Richards for you. I like Hill, I like Munoz, I like Maguire. Anderson, I think, is a bit of a lock. I think Hill for like a fifth piece is a bit of a lock. Excuse me. Yeah. Other defenders are Chalobah and Gabriel. You could go Munoz to just park him for like a week or two. Will Pedro play? I mean, he'll probably come off the bench at least. Like, I mean, he's gonna come on. You already have Enzo, and would you only sell Foden and keep the rest? I mean, Foden to Mbeumo is like a really solid move if you can do that. Captain Reece James. Are you sure Reece James is going to start? I kind of think he won't. Like, I'd be a bit shocked if he didn't. I mean, if he did start. We'll see, though. Suchok, Dorgu to Maguire / Hill for a -4. Play Anderson. Play Anderson for sure, yeah. I mean, I think Anderson has a reasonably high chance of getting DEFCON. The reason why his expected value is so low this week is just because the United projected goals are actually, for once, quite high, right? So, James will start this weekend. So, you think James will start this weekend and then what, not start versus Arsenal, presumably? I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Because basically, did he not pretty much play the full game versus Napoli? Or am I misremembering here? No, he literally played the full game versus Napoli. Obviously, he kind of played center back at the start of the game, but I mean, like, I don't know. Three James starts in a row sounds like that's extravagant. No, it really just depends on how much effort you think Chelsea are going to put forward towards like the EFL Cup. I think getting 70 minutes in both games is like kind of hopium, to be honest. Like he could also just be a 60-minute sub, to be honest. If you had 5 free transfers in Saka, how would you attack Chelsea and Arsenal? If you had 5 free transfers, I mean, I would roll a lot of the free transfers so you can just see what Chelsea do in the EFL Cup, and just relax, right? I would just keep Saka for now as well, because the assumption is that Arsenal will get the double. So you just keep the free transfers almost as if you needed like a, some sort of security blanket. If let's say there was a 10% chance that Chelsea actually, were to qualify within the EFL Cup. So that's how I would play it, roll the free transfers for that. You don't kind of preemptively buy Chelsea and Everton players. You just kind of chill. The only preemptive buy that I would make in terms of Chelsea is if you want to go Chalobah or Enzo for the next 4 games. I think that's totally justified. Thank you so much, Navideb. I really appreciate that, my friend. We're at 29k now, so obviously 1k is a little bit further away. We'll manage that. Trini as well. Thank you for moderating, my friend. He don't force him to use his power. Richie, cool. Thank you so much for the message. Hey, Fran, is it better to have 2 free transfers or GW24 or move Slubbo? Is that a slander nickname or is this where we're at now? I think it's better to have 2 free transfers in your situation personally. But I can understand the appeal of going on Bumo. So if you wanted to go for it, I don't think I'd really criticize it too much. Sell Saka to Bruno Fernandes. I don't think that's worth it. Hey, Fran, I have Rice and Gabriel. Should I take a negative -4 hit for Timber or Saliba? I'm so confused, though. No, I don't think that's worth a -4. Put Bruno Fernandes and Maguire for -4 in the place of Foden. Into your thoughts? I still don't think that's worth a -4. Is this because like the only way to get Bruno from your team is through Foden? I guess if that's the case, then fine, go for the -4. But it's tough. You think Sobo will be firing right back this week? I think Sobo, like if you think about it, right? Sobo gets the same 13-point haul last week, regardless of the position that he plays on the pitch. I can't do it if you would sell anyone else to fund it. Yeah, I can understand the Foden play in that case. Play Chor Anderson. Probably Anderson. Hi, Fran, great work. Buy Rogers or Mbumo for long term. Probably Mbumo long term. I prefer just a bit. Thanks for the message, Gotham. EY's, yeah, we'll answer that question. Bench 1, Timber, Chalobah, Mukiele. Probably Timber. Just back the double Chelsea there. And actually, Burnley have, Sunderland have slightly better clean sheet odds than Arsenal, marginally. Out of curiosity, how have you taken a hit this season? Ironically, I took a hit very early into the season when I had 2 injuries like sprung onto me around game week 3. But I try not to take hits unless I really think that around doubles and blanks, it's kind of worth it in terms of the way that I visualize hits is more kind of like a solver-based approach. So the idea is if you're taking a hit, you're not recouping the hit in 1 week or 2 weeks' time. You're kind of recouping the hit over a run of, let's say, 4 to 5 game weeks, where let's just do a point of argument, right? If I was going to take a hit this week to go Enzo Lefebvre to Mbumo, it's not really worth it because, first of all, I think Enzo Lefebvre has a better game than Mbumo. But if it was the flip side of the coin, where let's say Enzo had Arsenal, which he has next week, and then Mbumo has Tottenham at home, which is obviously, I think, a comparable game to Fulham at home. If I had to take a -4 next week to get towards Mbumo, I would probably consider it because in the interim, at least, I'm making up at least some sort of expected value gain. I'm not recouping the hit, but at least I'm recouping a majority of the hit, and then later on, it makes sense to actually recoup the value for Mbumo. Taking a hit is okay if you captain the player bring in. Yeah, generally speaking, because of course, if you think the better captain is being brought in, and he's and you gain, let's say if you think Bruno is 1 expected point better than Haaland, then of course captaining Bruno, that's a 2-point gain already right there, right? But what I'm trying to say really is actually, most often than not, like when would I ever put myself in a position where I'm going to bring in someone who is the best captaincy option and he's not already in my team? Like that would be kind of hard to believe. Like most often than not, the best captaincy options are going to be Bruno, Saka, Haaland right now. And then Palmer and Salah, we kind of think they're kind of frauds, right? So, yeah. You don't understand. What would you do? 2 free transfers. I would just take Foden out for someone like Enzo this week, as I said. Should I sell Keane or Tuchel? I think Keane might actually start, so I think you're fine. And if you sell both of them, who to replace? You got 0.8 in the bank. I mean, this week, if you can get to Chalobah from one of the options, I would definitely do it. Watkins, I think, will actually come off the bench. Would you start Reynaldo, Hall, or O'Reilly? I'd probably have Reynaldo personally. Captain Haaland and Mbumo or Bruno. I'd probably go Haaland or Bruno. Hope you're doing good. Edgar as well. Krupi, Watkins, Sarkowski want to start. I'd probably start Krupi personally. Hi, Fran. I have a really strong bench this game week. Do you think it makes sense to use benches this week? We will get like moderately massive double game weeks in around game week 33. So I think it's worth it to save it for then. You can bench boost now. Like, for example, like, okay, my team this week actually has a pretty good bench boost, but I actually think having a look at the fixtures ahead, my team actually has a better bench boost around game week 27. So if I'm going to do a natural bench boost, I'm probably going to do that then. Hojak, nice to see you, my friend. Is João Pedro a good pick for the next few games? Well, I think if you think there's a rotation risk, he's just simply not a great pick for the next few games. Is kind of the way that I would position it. Like, I feel like if maybe you're a bit more confident that Liam Rossini is going to start João Pedro more often than let's say someone like Maresca did, then I think it's worth it. But if you're uncertain, like let's say if you think that he's trying to manage this Arsenal fixture and they're going to prioritize that game a little bit harder, then I'm struggling to see like what the benefit of João Pedro is. I suppose start Keane or Mukiele, definitely Mukiele. It's not even close. Hi Fran, should I start Mukiele or Thiago? I think I'd go Mukiele. Doubling up on a team is perfectly fine, guys. Like every week I start a double Arsenal offense, with confidence. Not that it really works out too well, but the whole idea of like having two players within a team is not so that you can like never play both of them at the same time. It's that if you have two players and they have two results that are kind of like the outcome is kind of homogenous, like in terms of whether it's good or bad, you should generally try to play those players because it's an advantage to actually have, a double up of some sort. Enzo will be 62 minutes. Yeah, it could be. Will Timber play all the minutes in 26 double? I can't say that. Especially if Calafiori's around and White's around, I don't think you can say that about Timber. I feel like that's unlikely. What was the thought behind Maguire? Just saving enough money so I can go Enzo Lafay to Mbemo next week. Do you have a chance on Palmer Cap? Yeah, for sure. No, I don't hate a chance at all. I think it makes sense. Start Mane or Dallo. Dallo for me. Start Barnes or Calvert-Lewin. Probably Barnes. Will Evan Nelson be on pens? I'm not sure. Okay, what's going on here? Let's try to fix that camera. All right. I think personally that Evan Nelson might not be on penalties because I think Krupi Jr. has a really good record and he really could take penalties. But of course, if let's say Krupi Jr. is off the pitch, then Evan Nelson will take penalties. When do you think is the best time to wildcard? I think the best time to wildcard is around game week 32. Benching dilemma, Thiago 90 minutes, pens against Wilson versus... I probably would play Thiago over Wilson personally. You're shocked I'm starting Sob over Krupi? I mean, why is that? Best Enzo / Palmer replacement after game week 27. Tavernier if he's alive. But that's probably more around game week 28. So I think from 27 onwards, I think Brentford picks make a lot of sense. So obviously I would easily just say Sade and Dango in the midfield position. Is it insane to bench Ekitike and play Mukiele and Senesi? I don't think it's insane. No, I think that actually makes sense. Would you start Alderete or Evan Nilsson? I think I'd start Alderete personally. High start DCL or Stack. I would start Stack just for DEFCON. Because I don't think there's a lot of good like DCL odds to score this week. So at that point, you're basically saying, do I want Stack to get DEFCON or like do I see the chance for it? And I'll take that. Jackson, nice to see you, my friend. What's up, Fran? It's going well this season. Fortunately, hopefully things are nice and well for you. So Hale, personally, I'm feeling a huge Palmer week, very close to captaining him. I mean, go for your gut, no? If you actually, for me, it's just like my concern is just minutes, right? Like, I mean, because if you think about it, there have been games this season with Palmer where, for example, he gets subbed off at like 59 minutes ish, and that's not great, right? Because suddenly you're losing the additional clean sheet point, the additional appearance point, and then suddenly even if you scored a goal, you might slip out a bonus anyways. Do you think Bruno's a must own? I don't think he's a must own, but I think he's pretty close to it. To be completely honest with you. You need to play two of Thiago, Wilson, Richards, Mukiele, Van Heck. I think you just play Mukiele and Thiago personally. Is Palmer essential in wildcard? I don't think he's essential in wildcard because I still don't think he's like reached a state where he's fully fit. And by the time he's fully fit, like Chelsea's fixtures could be awful, right? Is it worth taking a hit next week to bring in Enzo for Elf? I don't think it's a hit, but of course, if you get a double game week, yeah, it's probably worth it. Palmer now on wildcard, then go to Mbumo later. You could probably do that. I can see the value for that. Krupi or Thiago? I'd play Thiago still. I just think 90 minutes on pens is slightly better. Slightly better. Hi, Fran. Should I go Mukiele, Thiago? I'd play Mukiele personally. That's what I would do. If you don't want to, that's fine. But I just think doubling up on defense is never a problem. Never a problem. Especially if you've got a good game. Play it, It's like, for example, if you have two attackers, right? Let's say you've got two City attackers. It's almost like asking me if you have two City attackers and they're playing Wolves at home. Like, would you want to suddenly just switch over to another player because you don't want two City attackers for whatever reason versus like a bad team? So yeah, sure, of course Burnley can score, and I'm not saying that there's no chance for Burnley to score, but it's like if the odds are very good for Brentford, or sorry, for Sunderland, and it's a very good game, take those odds and try to run with it. Because not often do we actually bench, like, let's say Thiago for a defender, right? And it's worth it. Play O'Reilly or Anderson. I'd probably risk O'Reilly just about, if I'm honest. I'm curious, actually. Like, seems like a lot of people just. I would poll it, actually. I'm going to do 2 polls. So we're going to do a captaincy poll. Start 1. Munoz, Maguire, Senesi. Probably Senesi. I think he's still the best option there. Bruno's winning pretty hard in the poll. Almost like shockingly how much he's winning by. All right, a little bit of Holland coming back there. Hi, Fran. Start Alderete or Thiago. Alderete for me. Thoughts on Dubravka, Cash, Guehi, and Thiago bench boost? I don't really mind that bench boost. I think it's better than mine, actually. Nabadip, you're on a wild card. Sanchez plus Munoz plus Njai, or Verbruggen plus Senesi plus Rogers. I'd probably go Sanchez plus Munoz plus Njai, personally. Is there a small sliver of a chance ever that Sanchez could lose his spot? I don't think so, right? Hopefully not. Donnarumma or Dubravka. I would play Donnarumma this week, for sure. I think that's not even close, actually. Are you planning to keep Sabo for the upcoming game weeks? At this point, I think I am. I think I'm most likely going to go Elf out of my team into Mbumo, as opposed to, like, not docking Sabo out of my team. We'll see, of course. Like, maybe we watch another right back performance and suddenly, like, my head is on Mars. Hey, Fran, which 2 would you start out of Wilson, Gravenberg, and Tarkovsky? I think I'd probably do Wilson and Tarkovsky. Concerned about Lefebvre playing deeper. Well, this week it seems like a lot of the predictions around Sunderland's lineup is that they might play him a little bit more advanced and bring Gertrude back into the team. So I'm kind of hoping that that's the case. Are you planning slash would you plan to sell Saka? Well, if he doesn't double, yeah, I'll sell Saka. I think it will probably happen. Do you still think the triple up on Bruno Ahmad Bruno and Mbeumo and Ahmad is good for a wild card? Yes, I do. However, I also think that instead of going for Ahmad, especially to kind of cover yourself a little bit for the situation where Chelsea and Everton could be a double, I would just go Njai over Ahmad at this point in time, right? So that's a good way for it to work out in terms of covering all your bases. Kashif, how do you see Njai in long run? Well, I mean, his minutes are going to be perfect. So it's basically, do you just rate this Everton defense like attack at all? And to be honest, like, I mean, Barry seems pretty solid. They just don't really have too much depth in the wing positions, or even arguably in the 10, but of course Dewsbury Hall is back. Hill plus Cash or Senesi plus Alderete long term. Probably Senesi plus Alderete, I would say. Excuse me. Sobo to Enzo. Yeah, that's probably a move that I would make this week. Start Timber or Thiago. I'd probably go with Timber still. Daniel K, thank you so much for the super chat. Can't see a message from you, but thank you so much for sending that across. Bruno's also won the poll, but it's only 68%. So I feel like we're still going to see one of those weeks where Haaland's effective ownership is going to be like 150, 160%. Still going to be super high. Now, another poll. For my own team. Let's do Sobo versus Krupi just to see how you guys are at. Oh, I can see your message now, Daniel. So you said, would you bench boost with Thiago, Guehi, Krupi, and Dubravka? You already popped wild cards, so you won't be able to wild card into one. Aha. Yeah, I'd consider. As I said, I think that bench boost is much better than my bench boost, right? Thiago's better than Krupi, arguably. Then you've also got Krupi anyways, who's actually the best player on my bench this week. Guehi's better than Richards. Certainly better than Anderson. Dubravka's Dubravka, right? So I would definitely pop the bench boost, yeah. Go for it. Start Mukiele or Elliot Anderson. I would go Mukiele personally. Where Krupi's just marginally winning. One sec, sorry, I just need to help a friend with something. Excuse me. All right, cool. Sorry, just had to kind of respond to a couple of chat messages in terms of some members DMing me. But all right, back to chat. And thank you so much actually for the super chats from 2 people here. So we've got I630, thank you so much. Munoz, Chalaba, Ahmad, or Richards, Alderete, and Bumo. I guess that's more of a wild card type question. I'd probably actually go Munoz, Chalaba, Ahmad, I would say. The problem with Richards, as I said, is like he could blank game week in 31, so it's like another future transfer out. Chalaba kind of secures you a little bit of like double game week 26 problems if it does arise, so I'd probably go with that. Ahmad might not be the best, like you could go Njai as well. Dr. Zan Abdulal, thinking to go aggressive and sell Saka for Bruno. But then, like, so if Arsenal double game week 26, what are you going to do? Are you just going to go Arsenal defender? Is that what you're going to do? Janksta, what was your question? Sorry. Is that in the... will Palmer start? I do think Palmer starts. Dubravka, Kelleher? I'd probably go Dubravka personally. Yeah, that's kind of how I'd answer both questions. I'm not very confident that Palmer has great minutes though, right? Like I still kind of feel like 60 minutes is kind of like where it's at with Palmer. If 30 minutes left is correct. Yep, that's true. Who do you think? What do you think of Wirtz on a wild card? I don't really like Wirtz on a wild card just because, if I'm honest, I don't think there's a massive gap in terms of like Wirtz versus Sobo. I know this is like a hot take. Obviously, Wirtz is like good ball striking, open play value, all that stuff. But Liverpool's run is more so around game week 28. So I think if you're wild carding, 8.3 million is a lot of money to spend on a player who I don't think has the best fixtures in the short term. Like I would personally probably just go Mbumo for a few weeks, and then if you're kind of sick of Mbumo, then just bring in Wirtz in game week 28 or something like that. You know what I mean? Excuse me. AK126 is Bruno GSL. If so, for Rogers or Cunha. I definitely go Rogers over Cunha because I can't guarantee Cunha's minutes like basically from here on out. It's very unlikely that like Rogers would ever give you a problem from a football team standpoint. Like if you kind of look at the season-long projections, I think Rodgers has like the second most goals out of all the midfielders projected left for the rest of the season, because part of that is because the market's pricing the fact that he is virtually indestructible, I suppose, as a player. He plays 95 minutes per match, and it seems like the market have bought into the ball striking as well. So I would just go Rodgers. Darren O'Brien, thank you so much for the super chat. Can you run through a quick wild card for someone who's having a horrid season and a 100.19 value? All right, let's do that. Let's actually do that. Okay. Dun dun dun. This is my team. Let's do some transfers. Let's just do a mock wild card now. So I would probably actually drop Saka just for the sake of it. If you're, because honestly, if you need money, there's absolutely no way you're going Saka, right? So you probably go Gabriel. I would actually punt Calafiori. You know, your team value already stinks, so go Calafiori. I'd probably go Gabriel just because. I'd keep Anderson. I don't know if I keep Maguire. I don't know if I keep Mukiele. Keep Enzo. Keep Sabo. No, I would not keep Sabo. I don't know if I keep Lefay. Keep Bruno. Drop Ekitike. Maybe keep Krupi. I think to play it the safest, could you punt Evan Nilsson for a few weeks? I certainly think you can. Basically, we're just saying, could we go Evan Nilsson for... It's kind of tough, though, because you really want Evan Nilsson for 27, 28. Man, maybe you just have to go Thiago. Or maybe, actually, we could still go 3 forwards. Okay. In terms of defense, I'd probably still go Chalobah, because you kind of want to make sure that you're covered in that situation. I'd probably go Njai in the midfield. That's kind of the one thing that I would change for my own wildcard draft. Could we afford Mbumo? I'm not sure if we can, because it's probably a team value problem. I think we probably can. So let's just try it. And then let's go Elliot Anderson just to round things out. And then I just need a midfielder, like a defender, right? So, okay. Do we just keep Mukiele in the team? Yeah, let's just keep Mukiele in the team. So we go... So this week, for example, like how would we play it? I'd probably bench Thiago and play everyone else. Or bench Njai and play everyone else. Because you can already play a 4-back this week, right? Chalobah, Mukiele, double Arsenal. You have 4 in the midfield, so you've got 4-4-2 or 4-5-1. This is kind of the team that I'd create if I had, 4 million less value than yourself. I think this is probably a good enough team. Maybe you also chance Darlow as well as a goalkeeper if you wanted to. I don't think that this is absolutely necessary. If you want to just keep Dubravka, right? Thiago saves you the most transfers. Okay, fine. Thiago for the next 3 weeks is bad, but still, at the end of the day, you're trying to reduce the amount of transfers you have when you're wildcarding. So this is a player who you'd be buying, like honestly, I would say wasting a future transfer for anyways. We have triple Chelsea and Everton here. So in theory, in 2 weeks' time, we could have 5 players, which I think is perfectly fine. Like, that's more than enough. And still, the likelihood that they actually get the double is pretty low. By going Krupi Jr., we're basically saying we're going to ignore the Mane dividends on the double and then actually just say that Krupi Jr. is better. So I think this is something that something close to what I would go with at this moment in time. Now, if you wanted to punt a little bit more aggressively, I guess, of course, like there's other picks too, like, Maguire that's out there, etc. But you might just want more information. Mukiele is probably a little bit more robust than Maguire. I think this is a strong team. Like, you can even go Alderete if you want to save some money as well, right? I don't think that's a problem. So yeah, that's kind of what I think. That's probably like the cheapest team that I can think of that's like very consistent and solid, and I think has actually like no issues from an FPL sense. Like even Anderson and Jai, because they're actually really good at DEFCON, like even DEFCON for Njai's case, where he's obviously a little bit more of a defensive, like not a defensive-minded winger, but someone who just gets into duels. On a poorest fixture, like you can say that they can still get DEFCON, right? So it's like you don't really mind playing these types of players every week in a cheap squad. So I quite like it. But yeah, back to my team here. And then let's go back to answering some chat questions. What about Watkins? I mean, he might not even start this week. I think you've got the deadline a half hour. Yeah, the deadline's completely off, my friend. Let's just fix that quickly. I don't think we have any leaks. Best defenders in the next 5 weeks. I would actually put Maguire up there if you actually think that De Ligt is not going to come back in time. But I might be wrong on that. So I think for the next 5 weeks, we're basically saying I think Senesi's up there, right? I think all the Arsenal players are up there, of course, because they have a pretty good chance of a double. Munoz, I would say, because you're going to get the Wolves game, you're going to get the Burnley game. Anderson as well, because I think he's actually got a couple of good fixtures, even though he's kind of like yo-yoing. Like he's got Arsenal, I think he's got United and City away. He has some pretty good games. Like he's got Tottenham at home, Everton at home, Sunderland away. So I think he's pretty good too. Yeah, those are generally speaking like the types of picks that I quite like over the next 5 weeks. And then of course Chalobah as well, right? Like no disputing that. I guess the biggest question for Chelsea is like, do we think Liam Senior is actually like going to improve the team? Because I think the defense has been a bit mediocre. I hope that works for you, Darren, though. Hey, Fran, bench DK, Bruno G, or Krupi. I'd just bench Bruno G there. Dubravka, Henderson, I'd probably play Henderson if I'm honest. Senesi or Maguire on a wild card. I would personally just go with Senesi if you can afford Senesi, because I can see a world where Maguire loses his spot. Liverpool always scores a lot versus Newcastle. Yeah, to be honest, like some of Liverpool's best attacking results of all time have always come against Newcastle. Although last season I feel like there was a pretty timid game though, if I remember right. There was a game where kind of like I think Newcastle played, because if you guys remember, like so there was a game where I think Slot actually commented on this himself, but I think the season was kind of done from a Premier League standpoint for Newcastle, and I think they had kind of like trolled the lineup, so they just like intentionally benched Isak, played a 4-4-2, and then Slot was commenting about how he realized that Newcastle were just basically throwing that game away. Indirectly, he said that because obviously he was kind of aware that they had to match up in the EFL Cup final. So that's kind of why that happened. And then, of course, Liverpool didn't do very well in the EFL Cup final. So that's a bit of context. But yeah, I mean, it's not always going to be high scoring, right? Isak situation. What about that? Sorry. Njai or Ahmad on wildcard? Probably Njai because if you want to cover your bases. Thinking of starting Wilson over TK, currently at 8K. Fair enough. I mean, I guess that's more of like a protecting rank type of play, but I can understand it. Should I do Timber to Gabriel? You've got Ryan Rice. I mean, if you can afford it, I'd go for it. Could you discuss Bruno versus Holland Cap? Well, I mean, first of all, there's risk to it, right? So, for example, like Bruno is going to be the much less effectively owned player. If you kind of like look at the market odds, I think Bruno's not too far away from Holland. If you kind of look at just the implied kind of probabilities. But of course, there's a huge element of Bruno's points, which is basically the additional DEFCON point or even the clean sheet point. So yeah, I mean, Holland is Holland, and I would just take Bruno though as if his expected points are generally higher than Holland, it's worth the risk, right? Will Cunha play now? Dorgu's injured, most likely, but of course we just need to see what Carrick kind of thinks about Sesko. Hey Fran, Bowie, nice to see you, my friend. Actually excited for this week. Using my bench boost. Good luck. Mukiele, Krupi, and Sar. That's a lot better of a bench boost than myself, once again. So congratulations to that, and good luck on the bench boost. Alderete or Dallo to start. I'd probably play Alderete. You've got Cash versus Thiago and Virgil versus Gordon. Which three would you start? I'd probably play Cash. I'd probably play Virgil. I'd probably play Thiago. What do you expect from the Villa-Brentford game? I'm not sure. I think Villa's defense usually is quite solid. I'd probably expect like a team to win like 2-1. Sell or keep Hall. I probably think he's worth keeping still. Unless you just plan to suddenly just go Chalobah, etc., for example, this week. Bench one Wilson or Thiago. I think I'd bench Wilson. I tend to just want to start penalty takers, but it doesn't mean that much this season, especially since they have nerfed penalties a bit. On wildcard, I think I should go Semenyo or Rogers. I would go Rogers because Semenyo will blank in game of 31. I think Rogers is a more solid pick, even though I think Semenyo's minutes are actually close to perfect at this moment in time. What am I bench boosting? Probably 33 if I wildcard 32. If money wasn't an object, would you still pick Enzo over Palmer? No, of course I'd have Palmer. Mukiele and Wilson or Alderete and Njai? Probably Alderete and Njai. Especially with the chance of the double. Is a Bruno captain risky? Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not risky because, I mean, I don't know. Like when people say there's more defensive sides, the reality is like City and Arsenal have better XGC than any of the defensive low block teams, you know? So this argument always about like the low block, I just find so confusing because it's people always just think somehow that the low block always shuts down like good players, good teams, when it's not true. Like good teams smash low blocks and always have, you know? So yeah, I personally just, I don't subscribe to that. Every team that everyone sort of calls a low block ends up being the worst defense in the FPL season. So which of the teams doing well versus these low blocks that I'm not aware of is kind of the open question I have to people who kind of make that argument. So yeah, I kind of think, okay, sure, Bruno could actually do absolutely nothing, but that's not necessarily because Fulham have a low block and suddenly Arsenal and Man City are playing like gung ho football or something like that, right? It's more just that like it happens. But more often than not, a team that's consistently sort of producing really good XG and a team that's consistently sort of, I guess, leaving more XGC on the table. So, for example, a team like Fulham is just inherently a worse defense than Arsenal and City. Those types of teams will more often than not concede more chances to a team like United, who are generally speaking a pretty good attack. Yeah. So obviously, you know, we can make these arguments, but I find them a little bit tiresome at times. Don't have any United. Who should I captain? Just Holland. Just captain Holland, or maybe a Palmer, or like a Palmer or an Enzo. Fran Anderson out for Fofana. Fofana's not even. I don't think he's even guaranteed to start. Like that guy was awful versus Napoli. Absolutely awful. Is Ekitike to Crew pre-junior and then Garner to Mbumo good? I don't think it's worth it because what if like Everton double? Maybe you want to keep Garner. Do you reckon Salah makes it into your Game Week 32 wildcard? Well, let's see how Salah does for the next few weeks. I mean, I don't even really bother like kind of making guesses on stuff like that. United is the team that's bad against low blocks. Like by what metric? Because they couldn't score versus Everton with 10 men. You're my goat, Fran. Thank you, Luke. I appreciate that. We try. Bench Alderete for the 4-4-2 or Semenyo for the 3-5-2. I'd probably bench Wilson right then. I think Semenyo and Alderete are both fantastic for this week. Mbumo or Rogers, probably Mbumo. Oh, you've got Enzo. You can't do Foden to Mbumo. You can't do Foden to Mbumo. I mean, I guess you can go Rogers, right? I think you can go Rogers. Yeah, but I don't get it. So you think United's the same team under Carrick versus Amram, or what is that supposed to mean? Like before Carrick came in, they didn't beat City, they didn't beat Arsenal. So why are you suddenly using the full sample size for United this season to say that they're really good versus top teams? When in reality, actually, before Carrick came in, they didn't have like gigantic major victories really to speak of this season, and they beat Chelsea because of a red card, really. You know, like I just think like the sample size is so poor as it stands. And if you look at just historically speaking, sounds like my mic is broken. God, that's annoying. Yeah, we're gonna try to get the mic fixed, but you can check DMs for sure. This guy as well. Mic sounds off from time to time, not the worst. Yeah, I mean, like I think it's something to do with like my PC tower, which I already have a new PC tower. I'm just gonna install it this weekend. I've just been at work this week, and obviously with the chest infection, just haven't been bothered to move around. I'm under the water. Cool. Microphone's okay now. Guerky for a hit. I don't think Guerky's worth a hit. In the midfield, I would probably just go Rogers if you can't go Mbumo from Foden. I mean, I think that's a fine move. Or you can just go Njai as well. Start which two of the Alderete, Tio, or O'Reilly Keane? I think you'd probably start Alderete and O'Reilly. I think. If you're not sure O'Reilly starts, I can understand playing someone else though. So like maybe playing Keane potentially. Thoughts on Miley and Sabo to Anderson and Mbumo for a -4? I don't really think that's worth it, right? Isn't Miley just playing more football now that Joe Linson's gone? I just don't think it's worth the -4. I think you probably want more information from the doubles and stuff like that. Is Chelsea a rotation risk today? For sure. For sure. Evan Nelson captain, I can't see the value of that. I can swap to another microphone for now. If you guys prefer. Yeah, keep the others, Faris. My friend, I have Cherky and 1 free transfer. I would just keep Cherky. I think Cherky's likely to start. Would you start Senesi or Tarkovsky this week? Senesi for sure. Hit for Cherky to Enzo, I don't think is worth a hit. On Wildcard and Mbumo Rogers, probably Mbumo still, but I think it's close. Like it's a 55-45 situation where I would probably go with Mbumo if I can do it. Start Guehi or Krupi. I would start Krupi personally. Actually, no, I'd start Guehi. I stand corrected. Krupi or Mane in the wild card. I think Krupi to save yourself a future transfer, unless you're like super confident that Mane is going to go crazy on the double. I mean, honestly, like one of the double games is versus Arsenal, so that's the 2 appearance points that you're kind of thinking about. Any leaks? Not from what I can see. Can you see my super chat? Did I miss the super chat? Sorry about that. Let me have a look at super chats. Oh, I'm really sorry about that. Christian, so Hincapie to Maguire or Gordon to Gibbs White / Rogers? I kind of think that I would probably just do Gordon to Rogers as a move. I think that's a bit more solid. I'm not sure if I'm in love with Gibbs White personally. And we don't even know if he's on penalties anymore. So I'd probably just go Gordon to Rogers. Get someone who just has like perfect minutes. Hincapie is unlikely to start, so I'm just hoping that you have a better defender in that case. Would you do Cherky to Enzo for a free or Dorgu to Senesi? I'd probably do the Dorgu move because actually no, I'd still do Cherky to Enzo, I think. Because like still like Enzo covers you in so many situations, including the potential double gaming 26. I don't think James starts personally. You've got Ekadike, Sobo, and 2 free transfers. I don't think it's worth removing both of them for Rogers and Evan Nilsson personally. I think you just wait for the double. The confirmation of the double, and then you can make the moves like that. I don't think Evan Nilsson is particularly much better than Ekadike. And then I think Rogers is better than Sobo, but I think you just want more information, right? So, for example, let's say if you found out that Chelsea and Everton were going to double suddenly, those 2 free chances will come in a lot more handier. Start for Verbruggen or Martinez. I would just start Martinez this week. No, I'd start Verbruggen. Sorry. I'd go for Verbruggen. I think Calafiori does start. I think he's one of the players who's very likely to get subbed off at around 60 minutes, though. So, like, I think his minutes are risky, and I think he could get subbed off before 60 minutes, but it's probably worth the chance. Fran move O'Reilly to Maguire, Van Heck, Richards, or roll it. I would just roll it at this point. Saka's not starting. You're not being serious, right? What? Yeah, that's not a correct leak, guys. Saka, there's no news on Saka, and Saka I'm pretty sure is gonna start. Philip, would you do Collins to Maguire, Chalobah? I'd probably go Chalobah. But you're basically gonna do what? Collins to Chalobah, then Chalobah back to Collins. I guess that works. Should I captain Evan Nilsson or Cunha? Probably Evan Nilsson from the two of them. Is João Pedro starting? I don't think so necessarily. Start Ekitike or Munoz? Probably Ekitike. Guys, I can't see the Saka bench news. I think you guys are... Is there a fake lazy FPL? I'm pretty sure there's a fake lazy FPL, guys. I can't see your super chat, no. Oh, sorry. I actually missed the super chat from Farbor Melker. So his question was Wilson to Rogers or B, KDH plus 2 to Rogers plus 4.3. I would personally do B, which is the 4.3 plus Rogers move. I actually think Wilson's like a fantastic hold. That's the one super chat I think I've missed. And Dr. Yazan, of course, congratulations on, first of all, being 35K, and then second of all, being a member of 14 months. So appreciate that, my friend, once again. Yeah, couldn't see any other super chats, though. So apologies if I missed any, but they just don't appear to me. Saka to Rice, I don't think it's worth a move. Saka's not benched, guys. I don't think Saka's benched. I don't think Saka's benched. I think you guys are just looking at a fake league. Fran, late to the stream. Captain Saka over... I would not do that. I'd still prefer Bruno Fernandes and Erling Haaland. 6 minutes to go for the deadline. The Saka news is fake. Please stop using full caps in the questions. It doesn't really mean that I prioritize your questions more. Bench Mane, Van Heck, or Mukiele? Probably Van Heck. Wilson or Krupi? I'd probably play Krupi. Kelleher, Dubravka? I'd probably play Dubravka. Krupi won't play 90 minutes. I agree with that completely. Esteval or anyone else under 6.4. I don't think Esteval's... Like, Esteval might not even start versus West Ham, personally. I think he's actually likely to be benched. Thanks, Fran. Bench 1, Sobo, Cherky, Thiago. Probably Thiago in this case. Is Enzo a rotation risk? I don't think so. Krupi or KDH? Probably Krupi. You think you're rolling? Don't love Chalobah at that price. Start Tarko or Collins in that case? Probably Tarko. Play Tarko or Nunez. I definitely play Nunez. Nice to see you around, Nuclear Atoms. Who would you captain? Enzo, Haaland, Cunha, or Evan Nilsson? I would probably do Haaland out of that bucket. You said bench Thiago over Cherky. Yes, I did. I think Cherky is likely to start. So it's more a case of, okay, if you play Thiago, it's probably because you're kind of like, you're risk averse. Whereas if you play Cherky, it's kind of the more aggressive play because I think he's going to start and probably just be better than Thiago, even if he plays 65 minutes. Saka, Haaland, Bruno, captaincy. I mean, I'm kind of more pro Bruno and Haaland. Yeah, Saka is starting. That's a fake lazy account. Yeah. I'm just going to post it as a pinned message. Just because we've got like some fake leaks going around, I just think it's worth just looking at the pinned message. Oh, I can see your super chat now, Lord Baelish. Thank you so much for the super chat. Trossard, Wilson, Bowen, 2 starts. Okay, so it's Trossard versus Leeds, and he got rested. Yeah, I'd probably play Trossard. And then it's Bowen versus Wilson. You know, personally, I kind of think I would just play Bowen. Yeah, I would just play Bowen. Because this is now a man on penalties. Perfect minutes. I'd probably pick Bowen as well. That's probably how I would go about it. Palmer, captain. If you've got him, I think it's worth a consideration for sure. Bruno G or Krupi, I'd probably play Krupi. Tio over O'Reilly. No, I'd play O'Reilly. Will Pedro play? I feel like he's coming off the bench. Most of the Chelsea predictions seem to have Pedro benched. So take that information for what it is. I'm not saying necessarily it's correct. It's just that's the kind of predicted lineups for Chelsea. Like most people are kind of predicting something that looks like Delap, Garnacho, Palmer, Neto, from what I remember. And then obviously Enzo and Caicedo a little bit deeper. So yeah, I hope that helps. Who would you captain? That could be wrong though, by the way. Of course, we don't know much about Liam Rossinier, to be honest. Like how much he kind of approaches, tight fixture congestion, all that kind of stuff. Do Maguire for Dorgu or wait? I mean, what would you be waiting for, I guess, if you got the chance to wait? 3 minutes left. Start Nora Richards. I would do Richards. And Sobo or Thiago, I'd probably do Sobo. Who would you captain? Enzo, Cunha, or Evan Nilsson? Probably Enzo, if you want to go risky, I guess. Am I doing well in UCL Fantasy? I'm actually not playing it this season. Part of it, too, is because I've been so sick of watching Real Madrid play. Like, I don't even care at this point. Hi, Fran. Would you start Timber or Anderson? I would personally play Anderson, the Nottingham Forest player. I would play Timber over the Fulham player. Minte or KDH to start. I would probably play Minte and just punt on it. Hopefully that he starts. Wilson or Sobo. I would play Sobo. Fran captain Enzo or Bruno. I would captain Bruno. Start Kruby. You think I should start Kruby? Is that what you're saying? I think I'm still going to start Sobo at the end of the day. I'm going to end the poll there. God, I actually kept that poll running for a long, long time. 55-45 is close enough. I kind of think we are so bad. I don't trust anyone against us against it. Like, I honestly just think we're a terrible football team. And because, of course, we watch so much of the Premier League, it just does hurt to know that there's almost like 5 or 6 Premier League teams that basically play better than us. I need to start him. I don't know if I need to. Yeah, I'm probably not going to start Groupie, even though I love him. Even though I love Groupie. I just think Sobo's really not that bad of a pick, even from right back. Like, at the end of the day, he's a bit of a set-piece king. So, the value from Sobo will mostly come from the set pieces and less so like him playing right back or whatever. Like, I mean, like, sort of like the open play value versus like, if he was in a box midfield. So, yeah. It do be like that. Hey, Fran, bench 1. Lefay, Wirtz, or Thiago? Thiago. Captain and Mbeumo or Palmer? Probably Palmer. Sobo to VVD, again, is going triple platinum. Start Kukurea or Miley. Of course, Kukurea for sure. I mean, I think that's, you kind of just have to. Do you mind if I follow? What do you mean? Like, just do the same team that I have? No, I don't mind. Wilson or Tarkovsky? I'd probably play Wilson. Henry, my brother, just sold Alonso for Arbeloa. Why would you do that, though? Have you really bought into Arbeloa stock? Because I have 0 Arbeloa stock. All right, FPL questions, and that's the deadline. You told me to start Anderson over Cherky and play Thiago and bench Cherky. I told you to start Anderson over Cherky and play Thiago and bench Cherky. I think I said, yeah, I think I initially said I'd probably bench Cherky, but then actually reconsidering it, I'd actually play Cherky over Thiago. So Thiago is the one that I would bench in that situation, but it's more a case of, would you be worried about effective ownership? So that's kind of like a 50-50 choice for yourself. Arbeloa, Liverpool legend. Oh, man. Deadline. That's the deadline. We had nothing against Arbeloa, but Alonso was done so dirty. Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of just hope we have a bad season just so we can kind of prove that whatever we did with Alonso was just stupid. And the players are just kind of making me lose it. Notorious Rasul, nice to see you, my friend. Long time no see. I'm okay, brother. Nice to see you around. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having a good season too. Alrighty, so that's it for the deadline. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will be watching, hopefully, Maguire score a bullet header tomorrow, and if not, this live stream didn't happen. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the football at 3 p.m. or wherever it is in the world that you are. Why is every FPL content creator captaining Fernandes? Well, I mean, he's got a home game. He's got a good game on paper. Similar sort of quality of game. If you kind of removed, like, in terms of like level of defense, I think Fulham and Tottenham are not too far apart. At that point, Bruno's been exceptional this season as well. Has a bit of DEFCON share, is a midfielder, etc. So yeah. Real tanking the season to get the #1 pick in the draft. Okay. None of these jokes, please. All the best to you, Bobby, as well. Leave a like for sure. That helps. Subscribe as well. That helps. And yeah, take care. I'll see you guys soon. All the best.